Hope you had a great weekend. Welcome to a brand new week of Scott Fox After 9. And I think this week is going to be crazy. There's some stuff coming down. Stuff is coming down this week that involves a former president and a former almost president. And maybe another former president. Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton, Bill Clinton. Looks like Trump and the Department of Justice may be moving in to make an arrest or an indictment of former presidents who they say conspired against President Trump in his first term in office. This is huge, and you're not hearing about it from the mainstream media. So I will give you, so that you can hear it in her own words, the person who's in charge of intelligence in America. I'm going to let her tell you what they've discovered in their investigations about former President Barack Obama, along with Hillary Clinton, Bill Clinton, and more. That is coming up in the second half of this episode. I'm telling you, you got to hear this. It's going to be a big story. Mainstream media is not on it yet, but it's going to break this week, and it is going to be wild. I also want to talk a little bit more about the Epstein files. We have an update there, and 3 things on my radar before I even get to the intelligence stuff on Obama that I want to talk about. And for this, I'm going to once again bring in the great Ana Almeida. How are you, Ana?
Hey, you have me hooked. I haven't seen anything in mainstream media
about Obama. You know what? It's scary. It really is. It's scary what's going on here because the CIA intelligence has uncovered some stuff that we've heard about, but they were always whispers. They were always rumors. A lot of innuendo around this. A former president, a current president, and a presidential candidate all conspiring against the other party. Politics is dirty, but it's never supposed to be this dirty. So this could even go right up the chain to the level of treason. And we all know the penalty for treason in America is the death penalty.
Oh, my gosh.
So I think this is pretty epic stuff, and I think you're going to learn something if you stick around for this episode. I'm going to get to all of that in part 2. But, Ana, before I do, I want to talk to you about something that came up a lot this weekend. 3 topics in particular that I would like to debate with you. We're going to talk about indigenous names for sports teams. President Trump brought this up yesterday, and I think he needs a distraction. He's trying to get us talking about anything other than Epstein and tariffs. So I don't blame him for trying to change the channel. But is this the topic to go with? Because this is a sensitive one for a lot of people. Using indigenous names for sports teams. We used to have the Washington Redskins. Now they're the Washington Commanders, and Trump wants them to change it back to the Redskins. We used to have the Cleveland Indians. Now they're the Cleveland Guardians. Trump wants that one changed back too. So we're going to talk about that. Before that, though, 2 other things on my radar. The Coldplay Couple. We'll get to that in a sec. Right now, though, let's talk about the most important thing I think that is facing us here in Canada. That is kids and the Youth Criminal Justice Act. This has been a passionate thing of mine for years, Ana, because I think that the Youth Criminal Justice Act is around with the best of intentions. I don't think it's a bad idea still, but I think now we need to redraw the boundaries on this and redefine what it means. The reason this comes up is because yesterday, Toronto police arrested a 14-year-old who was wanted for stabbing a 71-year-old woman to death in a parking lot on Thursday and leaving her to die because he wanted to steal her car. 14 years old. This kid was on the run all throughout the weekend. That was the only reason that we were allowed to share his photo on social media, is because he was on the run. Ironically, as soon as we catch him, all of that has to go away. If you shared his picture, it's got to go. If you mention his name, you got to take it down. That's because of the protections that youth are offered under the Youth Criminal Justice Act. We protect their identity. Apparently, if you commit a crime as a kid, it's possible in the future that somebody could run a Google search on your name and it would come up that you've had a run-in with police. That could prevent you from crossing the border, getting a job, and all that sort of thing. So we created this Youth Criminal Justice Act with the intention of giving people a second chance. The stupid stuff you do as a kid shouldn't haunt you for the rest of your life. So if you're convicted or charged even with a crime as a minor, we protect your identity. There's usually a publication ban around details of the case, and you might even get a lesser sentence because you're a kid. Well, what do we do when the kid commits a very adult crime, like stabs someone to death? Murder. What do we do there? Do we still offer them those protections? Because I'm going to go out here and say, no, we don't. But how young is too young? How old do you have to be to start being treated like an adult? If a 10-year-old had stabbed somebody, would we treat them like an adult? I'm trying to figure out where the line is. But before we take up all that, we'll get to all that. I know I can see your head spinning here. There's a lot on the go, right?
But that story makes me feel sick.
Me too.
Honestly.
Apparently, and I can't verify this myself independently, I'm going to go off of the work that others online have done, and I'm not even sure if I can leave this up for very long, given the Youth Criminal Justice Act. But the accused here, the 14-year-old, if in fact that this is him, his face is covered, you can only see the eyes, but many people believe this is the 14-year-old. He did a live stream on the weekend and admitted that he did it.
Oh my gosh.
It's not that the audio is hard to understand. The kid himself is hard to understand. Listen to, this is about 1:25. I think I'm going to play about a minute.
Okay.
Listen to this audio from a live stream this weekend. Reportedly, this is the 14-year-old that police arrested yesterday.
Broski, I didn't even mean to fucking kill the old lady. All I want, I was trying to get the V from her as a free card, so man can whip it and do 1, 2 things in it. But fam, it went left. Cause she didn't give me the keys, so I yoked her. And then I yoked her and I got the keys. Idiot. And then the feds came out. I had to cut as soon as they came out. So like, it's an idiot thing.
So the feds were already on the scene?
No. All up on somebody came outside, yelled, and then they caught the feds.
I'll leave it there. By the way, if you're tuning into this episode and you heard me say we're going to play the clip and you didn't hear the clip, it's because the clip had to be edited out. And I'm still not told that we have to do that yet. I'm wondering how that applies under the Youth Criminal Justice Act and if that's going to be considered actual evidence. If so, you may have just heard a blank space there, and that's just the realities of the legislation that we have. So anybody who couldn't understand it, what he said was, yo, bro, it went left. I tried to take the keys. She wouldn't hand him over, so I yoked her.
Oh, my gosh.
That means he stabbed her in the neck and killed her. In cold blood.
Sickened.
Left her to die in the parking lot.
71 years old. Oh, my gosh. She
was just unloading her groceries. She didn't do anything wrong.
No.
Does that change your perspective, by the way? Because I think for a while there, many of us were starting to feel more empowered. If somebody rolls up on you and they say, give me your keys. Hell no, I'm not giving you my keys. Sounds like this lady resisted and she's dead.
I know, and that's the scary thing. And you hear that from my parents. Oh, just give it to them. But what's yours is yours. You worked hard for it. I would have said no initially at first too. But oh my gosh, this is just so tragic. At 14 years old, can I just tell you my opinion?
Yeah, I want to hear it. What do we do with a 14-year-old who murders someone?
You murdered someone. You want to act like an adult, you're going to be charged as an adult, in my opinion. I don't care if you're 14 years old. You took somebody's life. You need to be thrown away. You know what? And when you're in prison, then get you the mental health assessment and the help that you need. But no, if you killed my family member, there's no way I want you to be out on bail and live your life when I can't live with the person that you took from me. I think it's bullshit.
He's going to get bail.
It's disgusting. The system is broken. This is broken.
Today he makes his first court appearance. By the time this episode comes out, we may even have heard it. I strongly suspect, because there's no reason to think he won't, I think this kid's going to get bail. He was out on bail when he committed this crime. At what point, though, can we stop tiptoeing around this and just say, you committed an adult crime, yes, you need to be treated like an adult? And that means all protections from the Youth Criminal Justice Act don't apply. We are going to publish your name. Yeah. People will Google you forever. This will follow you around forever, as it should, yes, if you take somebody's life.
It should. That system was built for different scenarios. It does not serve in cases like this. And more than ever, if you turn to the news, it's teenagers who are committing crimes that are so heinous these days, and yet they get a slap on the wrist and they're out and about. And that drives me crazy. I don't care that you're not 18. If you want to act tough and you want to act like an adult, then you know what? You get treated like an adult, and then you get the proper justice that family deserves.
The Youth Criminal Justice Act exists for kids who made a mistake. You know, you're 15 years old and your friends were egging you on and you stole a chocolate bar from 7-Eleven and the cops caught you.
Yeah.
No, you probably shouldn't have a criminal record for life because you stole a chocolate bar when you were 15 years old. We can probably look the other way. There should be consequences. You got to learn that stealing that chocolate bar is wrong. You should pay restitution. You should pay your debt to society, but it shouldn't follow you around forever. That's the kind of thing that the Youth Criminal Justice Act was created for. And by and large, I agree with that. The problem here is, and I think if you go back a couple of years in my podcasting history, you'll see that I said it even then. Gangbangers know as adults that if they get caught murdering someone, it's going to be a severe consequence. They'll go to jail for a while. So what they do is they recruit these vulnerable youth from low-income neighborhoods, not necessarily intelligent kids either. They go to them, they offer them this lifestyle and inclusion in an organized crime ring, and they get the kids to commit these crimes because the kids don't face any penalties. They're not even going to have a criminal record by the time they turn an adult. So while this wasn't organized crime, there's a lot of kids that are getting involved in it. And when I say organized crime, I mean more gang than mob. It's not the mafia that's hiring these people to go out and do hits. But the gangsters can use these kids to steal cars and stuff like that. If we're going to do that and kids are falling into that trap, I think we need to right away send a message. I just don't know that there's any political will or any smart enough politicians to take this on. It's very simple. We could change the law, but some judge somewhere in Canada is going to overturn it. We need to use the notwithstanding clause and rewrite the law in a very simple but specific way. That if you commit X, Y, or Z crimes, those are considered adult crimes, and you will be tried as an adult. You waive all of the protections that the Youth Criminal Justice Act might offer. There's a huge difference between shoplifting some underwear from Winners and stabbing a 71-year-old woman to death who was loading her groceries into her car.
I'm provoked. You just wanted her car. You wanted to take something that didn't belong to you. It's disgusting. You could have easily walked away, when she said no. But no, what you decided to do was take her life and you left her to die. I don't care if you're 14. No, that is unjust.
So where do we draw the line, though? I mean, he was 14. If he was 16... I think most people would agree, try him as an adult. Some people feel, though, that 14, you can't really treat a 14-year-old with the same law and the same remedies that you would treat a 24-year-old with.
They can say that because it didn't happen to them. How about if you lost your family member? How about if that person did that to you? You would think a little bit differently, and that's the problem. They're trying to, brush everybody with the same, trying to paint everybody with the same brush, but it's not the same. People do heinous crimes. It's getting worse and worse. These crimes are getting worse and worse, and people now feel they can get away with things because there are no repercussions, and there needs to be. You need to be scared. There has to be some sort of fear of getting caught. They don't care. He went online and talked about it so nonchalantly. He killed somebody who's just like, oh yeah, I did this and it's no big deal. It is a big deal. Somebody is without a mother, a grandmother, a wife. How about if that was your family member? How would you feel about that? It's disgusting. I'm scared for my parents to go to the grocery store alone. Hell, I'm scared to go by myself. Do I have to always look over my shoulder? It's getting worse. It's not fair. We should not have to live like this. There has to be a change. Yes, maybe if a 10-year-old murdered somebody, do I throw him or them in jail with older criminals? Probably not. But should they be going away for a while? Yeah, they should be. And they should be getting the help that they need to work out their mental health situation, because you just don't go around stabbing people. 14, you're already, I know you're still a kid, but you're thinking, you're starting to realize, I was 14 once. I know what's wrong, right and wrong. I know I shouldn't kill somebody. I know I shouldn't take their car. I know. You need to step it up. I don't care which politician is hearing this. This is getting outrageous. I'm pissed off. I'm scared, and I don't want to live like this anymore.
I hate this country, by the way.
I'm sorry. I'm so upset.
Yeah, I know. And
I'm sorry.
No, I mean, a lot of people feel that way, but I truly do. I hate this country. I hate Canada. And I'm saying that as a patriot.
Yeah.
Because we know what the problem is. The people know what the problem is, but our politicians won't do anything about it. We know that we need bail reform. Bail reform. Yep. All the Liberals have promised to do is tighten up the bail reform rules around some serious crimes and auto theft. Nothing about the Youth Criminal Justice Act, and I think that that's something that absolutely needs to go up on the hoist. We need to have a conversation about this. And frankly, I think we need to make this an issue, guys. The more I think about it, the more I think we're going to have a federal election before Christmas.
Ooh, okay.
I think we will.
Yep.
When I look down the line at what's coming, 143,000 job losses, massive recession is on the way. We're probably going to deal with some pretty dicey stuff in the banking area and in our financial markets. A lot of stuff is coming. Homes are going to be foreclosed upon. It's going to be the perfect storm, and I don't know if Carney can get himself out of that one. You know, he was pretty good in the spring at convincing people that he's an outsider. He's not Justin Trudeau. But now Carney is on the clock. And if he doesn't get a deal done with Trump on the tariffs by August 1st, we know the recession's coming. We know job losses are coming. I think that there's a lot of reason that the opposition parties may even bring him down before Christmas. So if we're going to be voting anyway, and even if we're not, I think every one of us just needs to agree that as Canadians, we don't accept this. We don't accept it. 14-year-olds brazenly committing adult crimes because they know there's no consequence, mocking the cops online. You know, they know they're going to be out before the paperwork on the arrest is even done. We have to change that. We can't accept the way things are. And I hate the fact that we're here, but we either need this government to fix this problem or we need a new government. I don't see it any other way. And if Carney won't commit to fixing this, I think we all need to, just in the matter of preserving our way of life, keeping people safe in the streets. Anna, you said it. You're worried about your parents and yourself when you go out. We can't have people feeling that way. The law-abiding citizens are not supposed to be the ones afraid.
Oh, and it's terrible. And how about if, you know, the tables churn and he's attacking her, but then she stabs him and he dies. And even though self-defense, she'd get charged. The penalty would be there. I mean, we wouldn't even bat an eye. Government needs to step up. Do what you need to do. We need you to step up. I'm going to say it, don't be cowardice, because how about if it happened to you? What would you do then?
It's the Youth Criminal Justice Act. We need to use the notwithstanding clause. It's the only way to make a change that'll stick because, again, some activist judge is going to overrule whatever the government comes up with, and the government knows that. So use the notwithstanding clause and start treating adult crimes, regardless of the age of the person who commits that crime, like adult crimes. We just have to do this. Now, I'm not advocating for taking a 14-year-old or a 12-year-old and putting them in an adult prison. We're not talking about punishment. We're just talking about how we treat the crime. And if you murder someone at 14 and we say, well, you got to do minimum 15 years up to 25, then put them in jail until they're 30.
Yep.
Even at that, they'll be out when they're 30.
I know, that's why you have the rest of your life to think about. Oh my gosh, it pains me because they're only 14. This topic, it makes me angry. I haven't felt this strongly about something in a really long time. It's just sickening.
I like the passion. Hey, friends, have this conversation with your friends and neighbors. We get a little defensive when we fight about political topics. This isn't a political topic. This is a matter of crime and punishment. This is something that's not a left or right issue. This is a right or wrong issue. So have this conversation and demand more from our politicians. When they come around asking for your vote again, don't give it to them unless they're committed to doing something about the Youth Criminal Justice Act. Over the weekend, the jokes went to another level, Anna. That's just a little bit of the video I'm watching here of the Coldplay cam.
Oh, man.
At a baseball stadium. So we all know about the Kiss cam. I'm sure by now everybody has heard about what happened at the Coldplay concert involving the CEO of Astronomer. Yeah. And the director of HR as well, or VP of HR, whatever she was.
High up. Yeah, she's on leave right now.
Now, as they continue to make a complete mockery of what I think is a sad situation, a couple of ballparks have introduced the Coldplay cam. And what they do is they look for couples that are acting and swaying and arms around just like the CEO and the HR lady were, but then duck and dive as soon as the camera gets to them. They're making a big joke out of it. And while I do understand there are people out there who love this story, I'm really trying to think about the human side of it, and I think I might have come up with a solution if people want to hear it. Like, I don't know, are people there, or are we still just making a mockery of this thing?
Oh, people are loving it. They're laughing, and I'm going to be the first to admit I've laughed at some of this, but I also have an ick, and the ick is these, if you take your step back for a second, these aren't actors. These are real people, and I know they made a mistake, but everybody is suffering. Their families, the embarrassment. Now they're making jokes about it. I saw mascots. Like, where do we draw the line? That's the thing. Even the person who uploaded the video, I mean, she's making millions now because of how much it's been shared, because it's gone viral. And yeah, I know they shouldn't have cheated. You know, stuff happens. People make mistakes and they shouldn't have been out if they didn't want to get caught, whatever. But at the end of the day, they're still humans. And if that were me, how do you even leave the house? Like your kids are always going to see those, your grandkids, everything. It's going to be out there for everybody to judge.
Okay, so let's do a little recap. They were at this Coldplay concert. Coldplay put them up on the Kiss Cam.
Yeah.
There are a lot of people that feel it was a setup.
Some people do because they were the last ones.
Well, you know, this guy is CEO of a very powerful company. Astronomer is apparently a leading company in AI. Maybe this was a competitor of Astronomer. Maybe this is somebody who doesn't like him. I don't exactly know how this could have been a setup, but it certainly does look like it could have been. I'm not writing it off as a possibility. Maybe somebody had a vendetta against this CEO or against that HR lady. Coldplay, Chris Martin, lead singer, knew exactly what to say when they ended up on that camera. 55,000 people in that stadium. And those two ended up on the Kiss Cam. What are the odds of that?
The odds are crazy for sure. But I mean, they were picking couples for the most part that seemed really lovey. And their embrace, before you knew what was going on, they looked really nice. They looked happy and they were enjoying each other's company. They were holding each other. And then we've come to learn, you know, they probably shouldn't have done that in public. But yeah, I've heard that theory. I don't really believe it, to be honest with you. But I mean, if somebody did set them up, my gosh, wow, that's a hatred that I want nothing to do with.
I don't want to go viral. I'm just going to say it here. I don't want to go viral. I don't want to be filmed doing something that someone else puts online and makes a lot of money off of at my expense. Mm-hmm. I don't want to be in that situation. And I'm going to go out on a limb here, Anna, and suggest the vast majority of people listening to this pod don't either. Seldom do people go viral for a good reason. It's usually a bad one. Mm-hmm. Let me give you an example. Let's say, for example, I'm at the park and I've got my AirPods on and I hear a great song and I start bopping away and dancing around. I can do that. I'm outside, not bothering anybody, maybe not even anybody else around. But it's possible someone could film me doing that and put it online and make fun of me and make money off of that. And I have no control over that. There's nobody that I can phone and say, well, I don't want to be in this viral video. Because there's people running around all the time with cameras. We've all got one on us on our phone and people are recording everything. And they're posting stuff, whether you want to be out there or not. And I think that that's wrong.
I don't want anything that I didn't give you permission to post to be up there, but I have no control, which is crazy to me that I don't have control over my own, you know, identity online. Everybody wants to go viral these days, and you see it.
I don't want to go viral.
I don't. But
keep me
when
out of
you're
that
out of there, you're outside and you see somebody's falling or they're hurt or whatever. The first thing people do is take out their phone before they ask if they're okay, just because they're thinking they might get the shot, and then that will get them to go viral. And it's just, is that worth it? Like, really, at the end of the day? I mean, come on. But that's how people make their money now. Some are influencers or just wait for moments and hope for the best. They upload anything and everything. I don't want it. You know, if you see me picking my wedgie out there in the free world, just let me be. Okay. I don't need you to shame me. Like, I'm just using that as an example because people wait and they love it. They're just waiting for people to mess up too. That's the other thing I don't like.
Well,
just
it's a
waiting.
very gotcha attitude. And but I mean, it's not just influencers and stuff. It's regular people that have just, that looks funny. I'm going to put it online and haha. In this case, that's kind of what happened with the Coldplay couple.
Yeah.
People saw it. They saw an opportunity to get this out there, and maybe it seemed fairly innocent at the time. But once we start hearing about consequences, apparently the marriage is over. If that's true, I don't know. There's been a lot of misinformation about this. Apparently, he is no longer the CEO of the company. Okay, so he lost his job. She has another partner, and I would assume that relationship's over. Kids, wildly embarrassed. I heard one of them even has an OnlyFans now. The whole thing is messed up, and for what reason? Why? I know some people have zero tolerance or sympathy for cheaters. And if that's you, fine, no problem. It's totally okay to feel that way if you get cheated on. But just someone out there, a total stranger, you don't even know, to watch their life get completely ruined, whether it was intentional or not, I don't support that. I briefly mentioned it on Friday during listener DMs. I think that sharing this video the way people have been and taking such joy in it, I think it's kind of gross. I do feel bad for everybody involved in this situation. Very few people have to watch their marriage break down so publicly like these people do. And was it avoidable? Yeah, I mean, I suppose people are saying, oh, then don't cheat.
Well,
okay, well, they did, and people do. Don't go to a Coldplay concert. Okay, well, they were there. And you know what? There was really no reason to expect that they would have gone and ended up on the Kiss Cam. This was either a setup or a 1 in a million thing. I don't think they necessarily did anything to draw attention to themselves. When I'm at a concert, I'm watching the band. I'm not looking around to see who's holding who and swaying to the music. That's just what people do at a concert.
Yes, but if you're in a relationship, and listen, we don't know what goes on behind the closed doors. Who knows? Maybe they had an open relationship. We don't freaking know. But the point is, if you're going out and your spouse is at home and thinks you're there for another reason and you've been caught canoodling, I mean, you just got to, if you don't want to get caught, don't go out. That's just my biggest thing to take away from this. If you want to get caught, don't go out. It's less likely someone's going to see you, spot you, and you just never know. Yes, they made it on the cam, but you don't know who else is there. And it's not like we're standing out there waiting to catch somebody in the act because, but it does happen. People might recognize you, especially if you have such prominent roles.
Even if somebody did recognize me.
Yeah.
Because it sounds like you're saying it's their fault.
Well, what I say in terms of their fault, if you don't want to get caught, that's a very big open space with a lot of different people, a lot of eyes, and you're just there holding each other. I don't think that's the right decision if you're trying to keep a romance under wraps.
Okay, they only went viral because of the Coldplay put them on the camera.
Yeah.
If somebody had spotted them, what's that going to do? I mean, it's not going to be all over the internet. What are the odds that it even gets back to their significant others? Just being with somebody that you're having an affair with, I don't think they did anything wrong. I don't think that they deserve this in any way.
This has gone to the extremes. Absolutely. Nobody deserves to be, thrown to the wolves like this. But what I mean is if you cheated, if you don't want to get caught cheating, go to the concert with the partner that you have feelings for or whatever. But don't be so obvious and holding each other and being, to me, careless because you don't care if people are around and see you together in that way. Again, you never know who's watching. If you don't want to get caught, you don't want something like this to happen, don't go out. Don't go out. I'm not even saying don't cheat. I'm just saying just be aware of your surroundings. I mean, it's just wrong anyways because your partner would still feel stupid if anything were to ever come out, if any word ever got out. That's just how I feel, though.
I don't see it that way.
Yeah,
I don't think they did it. I don't think they did anything wrong. I think that the people who posted this video online, I'd like to know a little bit more about them and their situation. And apparently they're perfect. So I would like to know about that.
She's doing interviews.
Yeah, sure. I think she should be charged personally. So. It's a gross invasion of privacy. And you may think, wow, it's not private when you're in a public place. Again, there was no reason to expect that what they were doing would end up on the screen and then people would take that and share it online and it would go viral as quickly as they did, mainly by people who have been scorned in the past, I assume. In this particular case, yeah, they were having an affair. Okay, that's on them and that's between them, their partners, and God. The fact that it went as far as it did and it wouldn't have happened under just about any other circumstance, I find that a little unfair, particularly to their partners and to their kids. So how can we stop this? I think that there's a very simple solution. The government should just make it known that we all own a copyright on our own name, image, and likeness.
I love that.
If I don't want to go viral and somebody did catch, I'll use your example. If somebody did catch a video of me picking a wedgie in the park, if they share that online, look at this person picking a wedgie. And I don't want that out there. I should have every right to claim my copyright to my image or likeness and have that taken down. And maybe you're wondering, well, how do you take it down once it goes online? I'll tell you from doing what I do, the way they can track music online is unbelievable. If you are not supposed to use a song and you do use it in something as simple as a sports highlight video that you're making for your kid to try and get drafted into by a pro sports team, they'll find it and you'll get a copyright strike. They can find music. They can find images. The amount of photographers out there who have got copyrights over different images that others found online and used it in their blog post or as a feature image on their story or whatever, they go after those photos and they order it be taken down or they'll sue you. It should be the exact same way if somebody posts a picture of you. We can very easily dismiss this as you have no right to privacy in public. I strongly disagree. And I think that this couple at the Coldplay concert, again, take away the fact that they were cheating and just think about what's gone on since then. I don't think that anybody should have to endure seeing themselves splashed all over the internet like that and made fun of the way they were. Again, take the cheating out of it because that's an emotional thing. Feel however you want to feel about the adultery. I mean, just the aftermath. If they want that video taken down, they should be able to go to X or Meta or whomever and say, I own the copyright on that video because it's my name, image, or likeness in it. I want it down. And it should be down from all sources within 24 hours. We have the technology to do it. AI makes it even easier. Why doesn't the government just give us control over our name, image, and likeness and give us a copyright over it so that if we don't want to go viral, we don't have to? It would also help with the sharing of intimate images.
Oh my gosh, absolutely.
You know, right now we've got this law that prevents you from revenge porn. Now I've got a nude picture of my girlfriend and she pissed me off when we broke up, so I'm going to share it and send it to her family. I mean, you're a piece of... Yeah. If you do that, 100%. And yeah, we do have laws against that, but many of them have not been tested in court yet, not properly and efficiently. And we also don't necessarily have very tangible consequences. Now, turn it around. If that picture that they posted, because it's you, if you have a copyright on it, they'll be ordered to take it down instantly, and you can sue them because they posted your copyright. That's the way it should be. We should have full range of retribution options if somebody posts a video or picture or anything of you that you don't want out there. And right now it seems like we're heavily favoring the internet, but we're not doing anything about the people who become victims here. You know what I mean?
And they've become victims. I just think too, their family, but I love that idea. I don't want an image of me to go viral without my consent, or, some you don't even know until it hits online, and it's mind-blowing. I don't know why there aren't laws in place like you just described. I think everybody should want something like that. Everybody, honestly.
I think we could all get behind that. Yeah, but it involves everybody. I mean, if you're I don't know, you were at a grocery store and somebody got video of you. If you don't want that video out there, maybe you weren't supposed to be at the video or the grocery store. Maybe you were supposed to be at work at the time. You might not want that video out there. You should have every right to have that video taken down. And right now we don't have that right. Everything favors the person who shot the video, not the person in the video. So I think a common sense change that the government could make right away is give us control over our name, image, and likeness and make it a copyright. If I'm in a video that you posted and I don't want that video out there, tough beans. Figure out how to get me out of it, or no, you can't share the video. End of story. And if you do, there's going to be consequences legally, and I can also sue you. I don't know if the CEO of this company would be interested in suing the person who filmed that and put it out there, but I think they should at least be able to explore that in court, because I think their lives have basically been ruined. Their names dragged through the mud. There's a ton of speculation about who these people are and what their motive is and how long this has been going on. All of it being hearsay. Yeah, I think that they should have serious legal repercussions. This guy lost $100 million a year salary or something like that.
Just wild.
Sue for 1 year's salary and then see how quickly people pay attention to what they post online. Yeah. I think we all share some responsibility in what we post online. And if you're involving somebody else, I think that they have some say in that.
Yeah, no, and I've seen it all over social media. It's an interesting, I like that take. And even when I worked in TV and I would go out and shoot things or we were going live, we always let people know that there was a camera here. So they were aware, so they could decide if they wanted to be there or not.
100%. If somebody comes into our radio station, because we have cameras in the studio, we have to inform them and they have to consent to being on camera. Why would it be any different if they're walking down the street? Yeah. It doesn't make sense to me. So that's a common sense change that I think we could make.
I'm here for that.
Thank you. One more thing, because I'm taking up too much of your time now, and I still want to talk about Obama and the Clintons.
That's so wild.
That's coming up in a few minutes. I've been trying to prime people and get them ready for it, because a lot of people love Barack Obama, myself included.
I do.
I quite liked Barack Obama. I was at his inauguration. I had a great time. And
you were at his inauguration. I learned something new every day about you. Oh my gosh.
I go to all the inaugurations, but the Obama one, in particular, I had great access. I was right there with Beyonce and Jay-Z and Puff Daddy, actually.
Well, that didn't age well.
Don't worry. Nobody touched me. I didn't touch them. I have a policy.
Oh, God.
Last one, and we'll try and keep this one quick.
Okay.
President Trump has told the Washington Redskins, that's what he wants them to be called again. They're currently called the Washington Commanders of the NFL. He may veto their new stadium if they don't change their name back to the Washington Redskins.
Wow.
Now, a lot of sports teams over the years have changed their name when it became, when it was pointed out to them that many First Nations don't like a First Nation themed name for a sports team for whatever reason that I don't fully understand. I guess maybe different First Nations have different reasons that they don't like it.
Or the context of it. I don't know.
Is it making fun of, like, let's use the example of, we'll use a baseball example because Trump also indicated he thinks the Cleveland Guardians should go back to being the Cleveland Indians. I definitely over the years heard some people say, Indians is probably not the best name. But it was their name and fans quite liked it. When they changed the name to be more sensitive and inclusive, that's a great word for it, to be more inclusive, less offensive to First Nations, great, they checked a box there, but some people were left feeling alienated and felt like it wasn't necessary to make the change. Some of these teams would argue, well, I mean, we do this in tribute, in honor of, not to make fun of or not to belittle. We're not called the Indians because we're making fun of Indians. We as a sports team want a proud, powerful name. An Indian, what's more proud or powerful than that? So there's an argument on both sides. Did anyone ask the First Nations? That's what I'm wondering. Like, did anybody say to whatever First Nation came on Washington, D.C. first, did anyone go to them and say, we've got this football team and it plays on your unceded territory and they're called the Redskins. Are you okay with that? Or do you want us to change it to something more inclusive? Did anybody ask?
That's the question. I have no idea. But when I think of the Cleveland Indians, I thought strength, and they never used it in any, from what I can remember, in any distasteful way. They're trying to play for a championship and show strength and unity, and people are coming out to support. So to me, I never took it as something badly. So I was a little surprised. And it's true. Did they consult with First Nation leaders to see how they felt about it? Maybe that's a little bit different. But yeah, and now he wants to change it back. I don't think just leave it as it is already. Change it back and forth. It's already too much.
Well, I'm wondering, is this going to be really dependent on which government is in power? I think that Trump has got far too many other things he should be focused on right now to be worrying about what name an NFL or an MLB team is. Way, way, way more important things that he should be focusing on. But he did open the door to this conversation, and it is a convo happening, particularly in Washington and in Cleveland, because those are the two that Trump referenced. It's fine if they did go and consult First Nations. I'm just wondering what that consultation looked like. We have something going on here in Canada right now where we're trying to build these nation building projects. And it was pointed out, and rightfully so, that we have a duty to consult First Nations before we do some of these infrastructure projects. And there was a difference of opinion in that until now, Justin Trudeau, for example, if the First Nations said, nope, it's a no, we're not doing it. When we were having our election just a few months ago, Pierre Poilievre raised a different perspective. He said, well, just because some First Nations say no doesn't mean they're all opposed to it. In some cases, this could be very, very, very lucrative and beneficial for those First Nations. Just because one says no doesn't mean it's a no. We have to consult everybody and reach a consensus and talk to all the stakeholders. Did they get a no on the Cleveland Indians and change it? Did they talk to all of the First Nations that are applicable here? And really, at the end of the day, who should make the final say? Should it be the person who owns the team, or should that right go to the First Nations from that territory? I actually don't know the answer to that one.
Me either. That's a really sticky one. I would think maybe the First Nations, but I can't even say.
Well, I mean, think of it this way. If you own the Cleveland Guardians.
Yeah, now.
And now there's a suggestion right from the White House that you should change your name back to the Indians. You've got a tough choice to make. You can do that, and I'm sure with some of your fans, it would be wildly popular to bring back the name Indians. For others, you're reopening a wound that is already healed. We're already past that. So maybe you do go back to the Indians. You're going to have to deal with some fallout. No doubt there's going to be some protesting because it's not unanimous. People do not all agree that they should be using a First Nations themed name for a sports team or for a mascot or an emblem or a logo. A lot of people feel that way. Do you let the market decide? You know, maybe if it's such an unpopular decision to go back to the Indians, fans just stop going to the games and they'll get the message real quick that they screwed up.
Ooh, yeah, no. Yeah, who do you talk to about this?
I mean, should just the market dictate? Well, it's up to the fans. And if the fans don't want to support a team with a First Nation themed name, then maybe we should change the name.
That's actually a really great way to put it. So it's a little bit, well, first consult with those leaders from First Nations and get their take. But I do like that approach where it let the fans, because you don't know who's a fan of the team and why they like that team. And maybe they love the name. And maybe First Nation people really liked that they were the Cleveland Indians because they felt empowered. We don't know, but because that information's not out there. Maybe, was it one person who said no and then it changed? But to your point about Polyev, did we speak to anybody else and get their thoughts? I think that's a really interesting perspective. I didn't think about that, but it's true. Just because one feels one way doesn't mean everybody does.
You know, I just want to make sure that everybody feels included.
And
I want to
heard.
feel like the stakeholders are consulted. I really don't want to offend anybody.
No.
But if we're going to make decisions based on being offended, I'd also like to know that there is actual offense there. Because one of the things that I've noticed is we make a heck of a lot of DEI related decisions around here based on who we think might be offended, without actually finding out, are they offended? There's words and phrases that have been completely omitted from our vocabulary. We don't say those things because somebody might get offended. Well, some of those, I've never heard anybody say, I'm offended that you said that.
Yeah.
So I don't quite know what we're going with here, but either way, I think that they do have a tough decision to make. Trump did not need to weigh into this. I don't know why he brought it up other than to create a distraction and try and get people talking about something else.
That's definitely it. But it makes you, again, back to the viral thing. It makes me scared to say something I didn't know was inappropriate. I did not have any bad intent, and then someone takes it, records it, puts that online, and then it's like this full circle thing, and you're kind of in this scandal. It's just, what are we living in, people?
Well, and I also, and the last word on this,
Yes.
I also don't want this to turn into a government of the day issue. You know, if we have a Republican president, which we do right now in Donald Trump, and he wants to back off on all the DEI stuff, he wants to basically put things back to the way they were. Okay, well, what happens if Gavin Newsom gets elected leader of the Democrats and wins the next presidential election? We all know he's hardcore DEI. Does that mean we're then going to be changing the names back again and doing this based on who is in government? Because I don't want to get to that situation either.
I don't either. And I like what you said. You know, those wounds hopefully have healed. Let's not open that up again. And if it's just working, it's working. But if you haven't changed it, that's where you go and consult. The hard stuff in the past, they've done it already. I don't think we need to go back and do this again. In my opinion, my gosh.
Great chat, Anna. Thanks for talking to me about these things.
Oh my gosh, good luck with this Obama stuff. I'm interested.
We're about to hear some audio. Actually, you know what? I'm going to play it right now. This is Tulsi Gabbard. This is Trump's pick. She is the head of intelligence in America. She's been working on something quietly, and she came up with a lot. Listen to this.
In the months leading up to the November 2016 election, the intelligence community agreed that there was no intelligence that reflected that Russia was trying to hack the election in favor of either candidate. The evidence showed, the intelligence showed that, again, Russia did not have either the intent nor the capability to be able to impact the outcome of the United States election. So it was very striking when we look back again at the documents that I declassified and released that shows there was a shift in early December, the first week of December. Again, another document was produced by the intelligence community, a president's daily brief that was consistent with every other assessment that was done previously leading up to the election. Russia did not, this is after the election now, did not attempt to affect the outcome of the American election. That was never published. Hours before it would have gone into President Obama's President's Daily Brief, it was pulled by a senior level intelligence official saying that they had to pull it because they had received new guidance. The very next day, this meeting was called, a National Security Council meeting, bring together all of the senior leaders of President Obama's cabinet, and the topic that was put forward was a sensitive matter. The tasks that came out of that meeting was coming from President Obama directing the intelligence community, then Obama's ODNI director Clapper, to produce a document, to produce an intelligence assessment that detailed not if, but how Moscow affected the outcome of the election that had already occurred, electing Donald Trump to the presidency. This document that they published in January of 2017 was the foundational groundwork that they continued to reference over and over and over again to enact this years-long coup against President Trump.
Wow. That again is Tulsi Gabbard. She is the Director of National Intelligence in America. The Director of National Intelligence, going back to look at what happened in 2016, December 2016 to be specific. Now, if you'll recall, in November 2016, Donald Trump had just shocked the world and beat Hillary Clinton to become president. Now, there was an investigation to find out, did Russia interfere here? How did Trump beat Hillary Clinton? It looked like Hillary was going to walk away with this. What happened here? The intelligence came back that no, Russia did not interfere. And even if they did, they didn't have the capability to be able to impact the U.S. election. Everyone knew and understood that, but that wasn't good enough. A little game got played here where they basically sent the intelligence community out and asked them, find proof that Trump is in bed with Russia. Find proof. Make it up if you have to, was basically the implication. Find out how we can tie Donald Trump to Russia. And that went on to years of impeachments and all sorts of other stuff. They were trying to undermine his presidency before Trump even got started. And you'll probably recall in Donald Trump's first term, it was very similar to this one. Scandal every day, new scandal every day. The people who don't like him really, really went after him. Now we're finding out that all of that was predicated on a lie. You know, usually intelligence will inform the leaders of what's going on, and the leaders will decide how they respond. In this case, the leaders decided what they wanted to happen and told intelligence to find the proof to make it work.
There's no question in my mind that this intelligence community assessment that President Obama ordered be published, which contained a manufactured intelligence document. It's worse than even politicization of intelligence. It was manufactured intelligence that sought to achieve President Obama and his team's objective, which was undermining President Trump's presidency and subverting the will of the American people. So yes, next week we will be releasing more detailed information about how exactly this took place and the extent to which this information was sought to be hidden from the American people, hidden from officials who would be in a position to do something about it. And that's really the point here that I think is most important, Maria, and you said it in your opening. Accountability is essential for the future of our country, for the American people to have any sense of trust in the integrity of our democratic republic. Accountability, action, prosecution, indictments for those who are responsible for trying to steal our democracy is essential for us to make sure that this never happens to our country again.
She used two very interesting words at the end there. Prosecutions and indictments. Prosecutions and indictments. She's saying that what went on here was illegal. Would we actually indict and prosecute Barack Obama? Would Hillary Clinton be part of that? How far does it go? I think if we're talking about things like the deep state, this seems like quite the shot across the bow of the deep state. It seems like it anyway, because, hey, we don't usually talk like that. It's kind of crazy to even hear that. But if there is actual intelligence to indicate that someone like Barack Obama on his way out the door was going to do everything he could to undermine Donald Trump and to not get America off on the best foot forward with a new president, then that's a big problem. And we know how Barack Obama feels. He's been very clear about how he feels.
Consequences to these actions. They embolden other people to be cruel and divisive and racist. And it frays the fabric of our society. And it affects how our children see things. And it affects the ways that our families get along. It affects how the world looks at America. That behavior matters. Character matters. And by the way, while he's doing all that, it distracts all of us from the truly destructive actions that his appointees are doing all across the government, actions that affect your lives.
So flip it around and keep in mind, it was okay, so flip it around. That same thing applies to Obama. Integrity matters. Facts matter. And they sought to create a lie. And they got the American people to believe it. They had the mainstream media on their side. It is bananas that was allowed to go on for years. Absolute craziness. Do you remember? Russia, 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 nonstop. And to Trump's credit, he said all along, this is nonsense. This is just not true. But it came from Obama. And everybody believed it. It came from Hillary. She was out there doing the talk show circuit, trying to perpetuate this lie even more. Here's a little bit of Hillary on The View.
And whether or not there's fire, we need to figure it out. But here is what's important. Put the investigation into Trump, his associates, and everybody else to one side. There is no denying that the Russians interfered in the election. Right. Whether or not they had willing or unwitting help from the Trump team. They interfered, and they did so to help him and hurt me, and they did so to destabilize our democracy, and they have not stopped.
She knew that wasn't true because she was in on trying to get the government to associate Trump with Russia. The whole thing was a planted story. It distracted Americans for years. Years. There wasn't a Russian interference there, not according to the National Intelligence Agency. And now we know that. Let's hear just a little bit more of Hillary. Remember when she debated Donald Trump?
It's come from the highest levels of the Russian government, clearly from Putin himself, in an effort, as 17 of our intelligence agencies have confirmed, to influence our election.
It was the consensus of all the intelligence agencies and law enforcement.
Our nation's 17 federal intelligence agencies.
17 agencies came to a consensus conclusion.
We have 17 intelligence agencies.
The intelligence communities have concluded, all 17 of them, that Russia interfered with this election. And we all know how that's right.
I am not quoting myself.
No idea.
I am quoting
Hillary, you
17,
have no idea.
17 intelligence. Do you doubt 17
our
military
country has
and
no
civilian
idea.
agencies?
It was all a lie. All of it. The whole thing was a lie. Insanity. Now, one thing I do not want to do is this is exactly where Donald Trump wants us to be. He wants us focused on exposing this lie. And yes, absolutely. If the leaders of America knowingly and wittingly publish things that they knew weren't true just to undermine the incoming president and make sure that he couldn't be an effective president for America, just to make sure that there was always going to be doubt when he did things, to give them the moral high ground to demand re-election in 4 years. If they did that, that's a crime. It should be punished. But are people ready to see Barack Obama getting perp walked out of his front door in handcuffs? Are they ready for that? That could possibly be coming. I'm getting this on your radar now because it is not the huge story that I think it will be yet. But I do believe that as national intelligence continues down this road and continues investigating, you're going to find more to this story. And frankly, what I've seen so far is bananas. Absolutely crazy. I want to play just a couple more things for you. For those who have never heard me talk about it, I'm a real big fan of Steve Paikin. He was on TV Ontario for years, and he recently retired, but he is doing a podcast now. So, Steve, good luck with your pod. I hope you're doing well. He was interviewing Alberta Premier Danielle Smith, and Premier Smith said something very interesting about the bias in our news media. I just told you a whole bunch of different things about the Russia hoax, and the media was all in on that. I think recently, like in the last couple of years, more and more people are becoming open to the possibility that the media is not necessarily telling us the truth or the whole story. They're telling us the spin or the agenda that they would like us to adopt. There is so much spin in the media, and most of it is left-wing influenced, specifically in the mainstream media is what I mean by that. So a question came up in Steve's interview with Danielle Smith, and I think the way Premier Smith summarized this in Alberta is very important. Listen to this.
Do you believe the institutions of this country, the courts, the media, the public service, do they lean liberal and against conservatives, generally speaking?
Well, I think CBC just demonstrated that in spades. They just had a major broadcaster quit with exactly that same Travis Danraj, I think.
Yeah, that's the allegation.
And he argued that he wasn't allowed to have the full range of perspective being represented. We just had that happen recently with CBC. In fact, I talked to my housing minister about it. One of the reporters was asking him about some of our stats, and we know that she contacted 12 people about our change in policy, didn't quote any of them because they agreed with us, and she went out of province to quote somebody who would criticize us. So I see that over and over and over again. So I think part of the reason why the decline in the mainstream media and the rise of alternative media is because for some reason they decided they didn't want conservative voices and didn't want conservative viewers.
Why is that? It's because they're all controlled by the same people. It's a narrative that's got to be pushed by the mainstream media, and there's no room for conservative voices in there. So yes, that is exactly why there has been such a gravitation or migration towards digital and alternative media, because people know they aren't getting the whole truth when they watch the news. Let me play something else for you. We are currently in a trade war with the Americans. We've got until August 1st to get a deal done, or tariffs are just going to get imposed on Canada. And I mean, feel how you want about that. It seems like there's no way that we're going to avoid at least some tariffs here in Canada. That to me is huge, because that's not what we were promised. We were told this spring, vote for Doug Ford and vote for Mark Carney, and those two will protect us from Donald Trump. I mean, if we end up in a situation where we've still got tariffs, did they really protect us against Donald Trump? We know sovereignty was never at threat. It was tariffs all along. Well, the U.S. says there's going to be tariffs unless we open their market. I want to play something for you from CBS Face the Nation yesterday. It's Howard Lutnick, the U.S. Treasury Secretary, Commerce Secretary. What is he? Commerce Secretary. He's the guy leading trade negotiations for the Americans. He talked about Canada yesterday, and I think we should pay attention to this.
We have a plan called USMCA, U.S.-Mexico-Canada Agreement. Virtually 75% of all goods coming from Mexico and Canada already come in tariff-free. The president said, look, unless you stop this fentanyl and close the border, we're just going to keep tariffs on the other 25%. And that's what he has on. So don't be confused about it. The president understands that we need to open the markets. Canada is not open to us. They need to open their market. Unless they're willing to open their market, they're going to pay a tariff. That's a simple message the president has. It's fair trade. It's reciprocal trade. Why should we have our country be wide open while theirs is closed? This is an 80-year wrong that President Trump is trying to fix, and our businesses are going to really, really enjoy it. I think the president's going to open between $300 and $400 billion of opportunity for Americans. That's 1.5%, up to 1.5% GDP growth, because the president's going to open all these markets up. Yeah. You saw it with Vietnam. You saw it with Indonesia. You're going to watch all these other countries decide if they want to do business with America. Let's just open our market up to America. That's opportunity that President Trump is bringing.
He wants us to open up Canada to America. That tells me that supply management is gone. I think people who are supportive of supply management, this is mainly in the dairy industry, are going to have to get used to the fact that it's probably gone. In fact, tomorrow, the Prime Minister is going to meet with all of the Canadian premiers at their First Ministers Conference, which is happening in Huntsville right now for some reason. And the Prime Minister is probably going to brief them on what's going on with negotiations. And I would assume that if he hasn't already, that's when he's going to tell them supply management, it's off the table. How much is he going to give, and how much are we going to get back? Now, obviously, we don't know the answer to either of those questions. We will find out, though, on August the 1st or August the 2nd. I'd really love to know where these negotiations stand. Are we close? Because it seems like here in Canada, we are right on the brink right now. We're basically in a recession, even though they haven't confirmed it. I think everybody understands we're in a recession. Some economists say we're already in a recession. We know there's big job losses coming. We know that tariffs aren't going to help. Is Mark Carney going to be able to stick handle a deal so that we do not face these tariffs? And if he does, what is he going to give up to get that deal? I'm not drawing any conclusions. The Prime Minister has all the runway he needs, but that runway runs out in 10 days. 10 days until we find out if there's going to be a deal with the Americans. By the way, while the First Ministers are meeting, this is all the premiers from across Canada. Ontario is the host of the Council of the Federation, so Premier Doug Ford is chairing these meetings, and he wanted them in Ontario. Fine. He decided to do it at Deerhurst Resort in Muskoka. Now, I've stayed at Deerhurst. It's a very expensive place to stay. Beautiful, by the way. Absolutely gorgeous. Great place to hold a meeting. But at a time when we're supposed to be looking at austerity measures, when we're supposed to be watching every penny, when government spending is at an all-time high and Canadians are concerned about it, we had a choice here. We had a choice. We could have had all the First Ministers convene in Ottawa. There's no shortage of meeting rooms in Ottawa. It's also in Ontario. We could have had all the First Ministers meet at Queen's Park. That's the Ontario legislature. Tons of meeting rooms and space there as well. Nope, they decided to rent out Deerhurst Resort for a week, and that's not cheap. Everybody up the 400 to Muskoka. We're not off to a great start here if we're supposed to be being responsible with taxpayer money here. Why did we do that when there is no shortage of places to meet? This is not supposed to be a vacation for the premiers. We're supposed to be getting stuff done. And where do things stand with these interprovincial trade barriers? Can I, in Ontario, order a bottle of Okanagan wine and not face any tariffs or fees or red tape or obstacles? Can I do that yet? Can anybody tell me that? If I buy a car in Ontario that actually came from someone on the East Coast, do I have to pay to register that car in Ontario? Or is the fact that it's already registered in Canada enough? There are so many interprovincial trade barriers, and the premiers made it all seem like they were on the same page. We're going to lift these. We're going to have one economy, not 13. When is that happening? We were told July 1st. Well, the federal government did, for the most part, their part. When are the provinces going to be done? When are we going to have no interprovincial trade barriers? When can I just freely cross into Quebec and bring booze back and nobody says anything? We got to get some progress made here. We'll find out a lot today as those ministers meet, and I will be talking a lot about that tomorrow in another Scott Fox After 9. Strap in, friends. This is going to be a great week. New episodes all week, and I will catch you right back here tomorrow. Oh, yeah.